Welcome to another edition of Daily Airline News. I'm Jeffrey Thomas and I'm joined by my co-host Blaine Gibson, and we're going to discuss all things MH370. And we're going to look at some of the questions from yesterday's episode on the CCTV vision, and also lots of questions on the debris. Um, so before we start, just want to say on behalf of ourselves, Blaine and myself, a very sincere thank you for all the comments that came through thanking us, and in particular Blaine, for the way we treated the very sensitive subject of the passengers boarding that tragic flight. It is a very difficult thing to discuss, but we wanted to try and get some balance into some of the assertions that were being made. And I thought, Blaine, you did a fantastic job walking us through that with great sensitivity to the people involved. So I thank you for that, and so are the viewers. So well done, well done.
Well, well, thank you, Jeffrey, and viewers. It's not easy to watch and it's not easy to talk about. So thank you very much.
No, I must say I sort of really felt, you know, really quite emotional as I listened to what you were saying yesterday, and then as I edited the video again, thought, cripes, an hour later these people were gone, and well, we
Yeah.
assume that, we assume that, um, and a couple of comments that came through that reflect all the comments. Respect for the three of you for reporting facts and not falling into conspiracy theories. Thank you for the amazing work you do. And another one was, I love what you guys are doing. Research, respectful, informed, empathetic. So, yeah, great. Now, Neil Clare, question for Blaine. Are you still actively looking for the wreckage yourself? Great work, guys. Loving all these episodes. Um, Thank you all. So, are you still looking, Blaine?
I am still looking actively right now. My local contacts in Madagascar and different parts of the world are keeping their eyes open and checking. So while I am not looking myself right now, they are. And these are people who were very inspired by me, and most important, by the MH370 families when they traveled to Madagascar and Mauritius to urge people to be on the lookout for debris and offer a small reward for it. So the family's efforts and my efforts have inspired some local people. And actually, that's where most of the debris has come from. It wasn't actually found by me, it was found by local people and brought to me at my urging and the urging of the 370 families.
Yeah, indeed. And that's one of the things that has been lost in translation, is that most of the debris has been found by a lot of other people. I think there's about 20 people, if not more, that have found debris. Correct me if I'm wrong, Blaine, but it's well over 20 people have found debris.
Well, it's more than 20 people who were totally unrelated to me in
Yeah,
6 different countries who have found debris.
yeah,
And then of the 22 pieces that I have found and collected, I only found about 7 myself. 15 of
yeah.
them are local people who brought them to me. So yes, the credit goes to other people.
Sure, absolutely. Now, DS Rob on is saying, I'm not suggesting the cargo was the cause of the disappearance, but do you have any views why the cargo manifest has redacted sections or lacks detailed descriptions? I believe that the predominance of or potential items of concern were the lithium batteries and electronic equipment, but I still wonder what else was redacted and why. Great show as always. Thank you for your keeping up the good work with the passion and skill that you do. So, any thoughts on that one, Blaine?
Well, I wonder about the cargo too. The manifest report was delayed in coming out and it changed a couple times. And I know there are miscellaneous electronic components listed on it, lithium batteries. mangosteens. I've checked that out with the official investigators, and they say it's legit. Those say that those are the items that were on the plane in the cargo. However, I am very open to the possibility that there may have been something on there that was not as listed. And we need to find the aircraft wreckage and cargo to know for sure, to put
Mm.
those concerns to rest. And if there is anything in the cargo that wasn't supposed to be there, or might be related to what happened to the plane, we'll find out when we find it.
Yeah, indeed. I think one of the things that has sort of spiked the conspiracy theories is what appears to be a lack of transparency by the Malaysian Airlines officials, and or just the fact that they were, totally stunned by what happened, too slow to respond to questions, confused by what happened. And I think that that has led to people thinking that they're trying to hide something when really they're not.
I agree. And I think that it's more confusion,
Yeah.
surprise, incompetence, rather than something that is nefarious.
Yes.
However, we need to find the wreckage to know. And that's the only way we're going to know what happened, is to find that plane.
Yes. When you think about it, it's not as though we lose a 777 every other week. This disappearance is unprecedented in modern times. Now, I know,
Yes.
having said that, and let's widen the discussion. Since 1945, there has been 81 aeroplanes go missing, but they're not 777s. They don't have 329 passengers on board and crew. They are various types of aircraft, DC-3s with two pilots, a 707 freighter with two or three pilots. Um, Tragic, of course, but not in this modern era and not on this scale. Um, and this is why, I think a lot of airlines would be, I think most airlines would be really, really struggling to deal with this tragedy, not just Malaysian Airlines.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Duck 007 question to Blaine. Have searches for MH370 debris been conducted along the Antarctic coast? There are maybe certain oceanic currents in the Indian Ocean where MH370 is believed to have crashed that could have carried the debris further south. There are some Antarctic bases in those remote areas. Just guessing. Thanks for your work.
Well, the answer is no. Searches for debris have not been conducted in Antarctica, and it's with good reason. There's a current called the Antarctic Circumpolar Current that is down around 60 degrees south and 50s degrees south that goes around Antarctica. So there is no way that debris from the 370 crash site, which we believe is in the 30s, but even if it were in the roaring 40s, as some people claim, the drift analysis goes against that. However, some claim it was. Even if it were in the 40s, there's no way that debris would reach the Antarctic coast crossing the circumpolar current. It just wouldn't happen. And the other thing is that there's nowhere that you could really search for debris on shore. It wouldn't wash ashore. Even if there were debris down there, it would just run up against an ice shelf. So no, there won't be any 370 debris in Antarctica. The 370 debris from the mid to low 30s and high 20s goes north and then west to Africa and the Mascarenes in Madagascar. That's the way the currents flow.
Um, from Jeff Daniel 814, Blaine mentioned a piece of debris that he found which was green and yellow and appeared to be much older. Therefore, it is not from MH370. Could it be a piece from the Heidelberg disaster, SA-295, which crashed in November 1987?
The answer to that is it could be, but it could also be from Ethiopian 961, which crashed in the Comoros Islands. I was very excited when I found that debris, and I've provided you with some pictures of it because it had the remains of a plate, partly obscured but partly legible, with numbers on it. In fact, it had 85 and then some mangled numbers, and then CN1 11-3-3. So if you want to check on that, you can. When I found it, I figured it was from 370, but it looked a little different. But I wanted to get that identified, and fortunately, the Malaysian investigator came over when the MH370 families visited Madagascar, and he inspected this green and yellow debris and determined that it was an older Boeing aircraft, not from Malaysia 370. So it stayed there. However, I don't know if it was from the 767 of Ethiopian 961 or the Helderberg SA-295, which crashed in Mauritius. Could be either one. This might be an interesting project for you guys to check into, looking at the pictures and see what it was. I will add something about the Helderberg that is significant, that I learned from people who collected the debris in Mauritius, that there was a terrible fire on board the Helderberg. And that debris, even the debris that kept washing ashore years later, still smelled of the fire. The burning does not dissipate quickly when debris is floating around the ocean. Now, I'll add that this green and yellow debris I found did not smell of burning at all. But then that, since that was seen by me in 2016, that would be 30 years after the Helderberg crash. So I don't know. But I'm interested in your thoughts on it. And you're looking at some pictures of it now, and let me know.
Interesting. Talking of debris, Colin Jelly, between the crash site and Madagascar Reunion, Mauritius, there are a number of small specks of land mid-ocean on the drift path. The fact, the question is, are there? And the answer is yes, there are, aren't there? Small islands?
Well, the answer is yes, there are. And the main one, of course, is the island of Rodriguez, which is a very beautiful island, a wonderful place to visit, and a piece of cabin debris. In fact, the first piece of cabin debris was found on Rodriguez by a French couple from La Réunion, the Vitries, found it on the beach at Gravier in Rodriguez in around March, April of 2016. And interestingly enough, I had been on that very same beach at Gravier in Rodriguez in 2015, but didn't find anything there. So the debris had not yet reached there. So Rodriguez is one. Now, there are some other outer islands and atolls of Mauritius where debris could be found, Agalega, Saint-Brandon. But I think the one that a lot of people speculate about is the Chagos Archipelago, the British Indian Ocean Territory, which includes Diego Garcia and Peros Bonos and some other. Those are north of the main debris path. The debris doesn't go up all the way to the equator and then around. It goes up and then north and then across, probably at around 15 degrees south, and then comes down. So none has been found in the Chagos Archipelago, and I'm told that they were.
Timbo 7772, great information, Blaine. I, as someone who believes the flight became a hypoxic ghost flight out into the southern Indian Ocean, can you delve into the technicalities whether it may be possible for MRO to have been a flight with no pilot and no autopilot, resulting in a random meandering flight to fuel exhaustion? Now, he says it's possibly a question for Richard, and I'm sure Richard might have a crack at it. But Blaine, you got any thoughts on that one?
Well, Richard's better qualified to answer that than I am, but Captain Tim, I will give you my answer. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm a wreck hunter. I'm not a specialist in aviation. The debris says nothing about who was flying the plane. The debris doesn't even speak to if anyone was flying the plane at the end. We don't know for sure. I originally believed that 370 was a ghost flight that continued on its course after Igari. It turned and then crashed somewhere in the southern Indian Ocean. However, what troubles me are the three big turns that the aircraft made. The first one at Igari, the turn back on a bearing for Penang, that if you drew a straight line, interestingly enough, it would continue to Diego Garcia and Madagascar. Then the second turn after Penang, northwest, up the mouth of the Straits of Malacca. And I know there is some question as to whether it actually made that turn, but the initial turn was tracked on civilian radar by the Shadows, and the military radar tracked it up to the northwest part of the Strait of Malacca, the mouth. So that if it was 370 and ATSB and Annex 13 concluded that it was, it would have then had to make another turn south to the crash area. So that would be three big turns. Now, you're a captain, you know better if a plane might be able to do those by itself. But it appears to me, just as a layman, as an amateur, that those are three deliberate turns and that someone was flying it, at least at that point.
Thanks, Blaine. Brian Bosomworth 7555, great episode as usual. I have a question, if I may, for Blaine. With the identified debris that has been found already from various parts of the plane, what I don't understand is that if these are the parts from certain areas of the plane, why wasn't there more washing up? If the plane crashed in many pieces, and if it wasn't a controlled ditching, then where are the rest of the plane parts? A small part of me thinks that ships cleaned the crash site up ASAP, but missed the washed up parts. Is that plausible? Keep up the great work. Yeah, I'll let you answer that one, Blaine.
No, it is not possible that ships cleaned the crash site up. They didn't even know where the crash site was. And even if they did, they couldn't have gone there and cleaned it up without being spotted. So that didn't happen. Very simply, the reason that not much debris washed ashore is that not that many people were looking. There never was an official notice given to islands and nations in the Southwest Indian Ocean to be on the lookout for debris until the flaperon was found. There the only official search for floating debris was done after the flaperon was found, and only in La Réunion by France and in Mauritius. And Mauritius, actually, they found a piece. A Coast Guard officer on foot patrol found a piece. However, I know the head of BEA in Madagascar way back in April of 2016, before I found any debris, proposed to Malaysia a search of the shorelines and beaches of Madagascar for floating debris, but Malaysia wasn't interested in it. They didn't want to pay for it. They didn't answer. It wasn't done. Madagascar is not a rich country. It's not their plane. They don't have the means to do that on their own. It should have been done. And as far as private citizens go, of the 43 pieces of debris, 42 have been found by private citizens, me looking for it, others who looked for it because I had encouraged them to, and the families had, and 20 other people in 6 different countries totally unrelated to me. So that's why not much debris was washed ashore. It's because not much debris was found washed ashore.
I think also we should mention, and we have mentioned this several times before, and I'm showing at the screen right now, a map which shows where the initial aerial search areas were. And the area where we now are certain the MH370 crashed, which is the University of WA zone, was not, the search did not start. This is the aerial search, didn't start till the 28th of March, which is 20 days after the crash. Now, the other aspect of this is during that period, and I'm showing you again satellite images from NASA, 2 cold fronts had gone through between the crash and when the aerial search of the area we now know where it is was conducted. So there's no debris trail because it all got blown all over the place. And the other dynamic is there's literally thousands and thousands of kilometers of very, very lonely beaches, whether they are islands or the coast of Africa, as Blaine said, that have never been officially searched. Malaysia has not authorized, not set up, not conducted any searches whatsoever, despite the fact it's their responsibility. So that's why there are so few pieces of debris. I'm certain there are probably thousands of pieces that are scattered all over the place in the southern Indian Ocean. So Barney R. UTD, incredible show as always. It seems to me if it was a human factors involved, the people involved would have chosen the deepest parts of the ocean to keep it hidden. What are the deepest areas and how do the currents differentiate at depths? So, yeah, the answer to that, Blaine, is Broken Ridge Diamantina Trench.
Yes, that's right. Broken Ridge is the deepest and roughest part to search, and that is at the southern edge of the UWA area. Broken Ridge at 32.5 and 96.5 east was the simulation location that guided me in my search. The Whisper location is north of there, about 3 degrees north of there. And I'd just like to say this. The UWA oceanographic area, recommended area between 28.3 degrees south and 33.2 degrees south, is based on oceanography alone. It is totally neutral on who was flying the plane or why, or if there was a target. It could have been completely random that it crashed anyone there, or could have been deliberate. The ocean does not determine that. The debris does not answer that. Broken Ridge, the Whisper location, both within the UWA area, need to be searched based on oceanography alone, regardless of any of those other assumptions. And
Yep.
if someone were targeting an area to make it difficult to find, Broken Ridge would be a good target, but there would be others. So I wouldn't necessarily go based on that. And the deepest part, Diamantina Trench, is very far east of the seventh arc. So while Vincent Line, I believe, says that he thinks the plane crashed there, that's pretty far from the seventh arc.
Yep. So Woodchuck 2024 question for Blaine. I agree that MH370 shattered on impact. I would like to know Blaine's opinion if the landing gear was deployed during the last moments or not. Would the debris that has been found give any indication? Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, that's a very good question. The only piece that is known to be from the landing gear is the nose landing gear door, which was found by local people on Ansirica, Madagascar, and was analyzed and is included in the Annex 13 report. And they did a good job of identifying where it was from. However, they did not really analyze the pressure and stress on it to be able to tell if it was deployed or if it fell off in the air or if it was not deployed and simply crushed and detached when it impacted the ocean. I'd like to see that done.
Thanks, Blaine. Yep, you're absolutely right. So, viewers, that's all we've got time for today. I'm sorry, I've got to wrap this up. Blaine, thank you very much for being part of this. And we're going to be talking to you on Saturday about some new pieces of debris. You're going to have details and photographs for us on Saturday. So that'll be really exciting to see that and to learn more about those pieces. Viewers, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to us. Please like us. Please keep the questions coming. And we sincerely appreciate the compliments and the support that you're giving us. It means a lot to us. And Blaine, thank you again for your time.
Well, thank you and thank the viewers. And we think we will be adding to those 43 pieces on Saturday.
Good stuff.